I've spoken a little bit about Chiron, Aries, and the North Node in previous talks, and find myself today meditating upon those energies as they come together, what they might mean for us, how we could possibly meditate upon them. So we start with Aries itself, the initiatory fire of nature itself. The Martian ram, I think of even the simplest image of the grass bursting through the ground in the springtime, as it bursts back forth through the frozen ground, or the once frozen ground, if you will. Aries is this energy of life, and it marks this sign, the true New Year's point of the zodiac. March 21st, 22nd at the spring equinox, this is when the Aries energy kicks off every year. In the energetic of the astrologos, it represents cardinal fire, and it represents the energy of I am. All of the energies that the different zodiac signs hold come together to give us a full experience of reality and of life. And Aries is the energy of I am. It is that force of willpower and survival and initiatory fire, aggression. It is simply put, it is one's willpower. And where it takes place in our birth chart is going to play itself out in that way in our life. Right now in the collective, what we are seeing is the nodal axis having come back into this area last year, and to remain there for almost another year or so. The nodal axis swings at about an 18-month cycle. And we've spoken about the nodal axis being a karmic destiny point, the nodal points of the moon, the Rahu Ketu axis, where the ecliptic occurs. And this is part of nature. And metaphysically, it represents the head and the tail of the dragon, if you will, and the trajectory of our soul in this life. An arrow that is pointing where we are meant to aim for the highest growth of our soul in this particular life, as the blueprint was made upon our being the moment we were born. Right now, that sits in, I would say, the late part of the second decan of Aries, the middle to late area, firmly in the sign of Aries, moving in a retrograde fashion. Soon to be meeting up exactly with the wounded healer Chiron. Chiron, it represents where it sits in the sky at the day of our birth, represents where we are the most wounded and where we can be the most magically healed in the process of this particular earth life existence, where we have the most potential for soul growth in the particular realm of healing, the pain that we're carrying with us. As the North Node represents the highest trajectory for our soul's growth, Chiron represents the aspect of our soul's growth that we must tap into in order to move forward. And that is where we are the most deeply wounded. And these two energies are coming together in the sign of the I am. And there could be no better opportunity in our lives, quite frankly, to realize and understand fully and start to experience and start to act upon more fully the truth, which is at the basis of my personal philosophy as a yogi and a teacher of such things. And that is that God is in our deepest pain, and our deepest growth and our deepest happiness comes out of that. We are in this dualism, whether we like it or not. And people can talk and preach about practicing non-dualism and all these concepts all they want, and that's fine, because ultimately there is no dualism, because God did create it all. And if we look at one of the chief sources of language out of ancient Egypt is the word for light, which is Ra. And it's a syllable that both in forward motion and backward motion turns up in so many very important sounds that we utter in different languages today. I speak about this particular topic in another lecture that I've done. It's available online. And it is even in the word Aries and in the word Ram and in the word Mars, Aries, right there. And it's talking about the sun god, the fire of the sun, the initiatory. In this case, it's all over Aries because it's the first beginning. And this conjunction happening in Aries between Chiron and the north node of the moon is a grand opportunity to own that which we are most afraid of facing, in order to realize that it is the key to our greatest healing, our greatest overall health, our greatest prosperity, and peace of mind in this life. To bring the I am energy, the things that we have been reaching out into the world for and putting all that energy into, whether it's our job or our relationship or our children or all the things that matter in our lives, a chance to go within and take that willpower to face our own shadow. There's a verse in the Bible where God says, I created it all good and evil. And this is to explain to us that this dualistic reality that we are living in is a temporary thing, but we must deal with it thusly. We can't jump out of it. To understand the light fully, we cannot ignore the dark. And this is unfortunately what many do in the spiritual community, let alone in the rest of civilization. It's love and light, love and light, love and light, and we're ignoring the darkness. And the darkness leads to the greatest light. Pure and simple. Chiron holds a hope for the pain. Chiron is always giving us an opportunity to face it. And as I have said in other talks, oftentimes in life we do not experience properly and fully the pain that we are supposed to. We are having the experiences that are causing that pain, but we are numbing ourselves out and distracting us from the pain that's supposed to go along with that experience, and therefore we're not having the full learning of that experience. Chiron, particularly in the Aries point with the North Node, was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to face the darkness and to stop trying to kid ourselves and to stop raising our eyebrows and shrugging our shoulders or turning up our nose at people who are willing to face the dark. The brightest light is through the dark, through it. Not just peeking at it and saying, oh yeah, I face my shadow. No, through it. We have to go all the way through it. Every great myth, whether biblical or otherwise, is telling us this, but we ignore it. The modern world just sucks us right in every time, and we don't face the pain that we're supposed to. Chiron is giving us another opportunity, and in fact, with the North Node and Aries involved, it seems to me like we don't really have a choice anymore. The truth of it is, in every dark place, there is always a tiny light, and that tiny light is always representing the brightest light, the light of the sun, which cannot be put out. And that's the point. We have to face the shadow. Pure and simple, we have to do it in ourselves and in the collective. This spring is a huge opportunity to do so. In fact, with all the other big boys involved planetarily, I see it as a forced issue in the world, actually, and maybe even in individuals' lives. We see the change happening already. Many people are making the decision and coming and stepping forth to the plate and saying, yes, I'm ready, I'm doing it now. And then many will simply be forced because they didn't make that decision on their own. And we shall see. Understanding this will help us.